you drink coffee? When did you start drinking coffee? For me, it was when I had a job that I drove at night. And you know, they always say coffee keeps you awake. I don't think it really did. I think if I was tired, I was tired. But I would get a coffee just because I always heard that it keeps you awake. But when I first started getting coffee, I would put a lot of sugar and cream. Now I just add a little bit of cream. But the point is that it was those days of driving at night that got me started on coffee. It's a habit. And I like this habit. I got mine right now. The only thing better, maybe, than having coffee while I'm working on art is coffee when I'm in a cabin somewhere. So there we go. So today's painting is, I guess you would call it a still life, right? A still life of a coffee cup this was at a KOA years ago. I was camping somewhere with my son, and I would always get up early. I'll tell you. I think I talked about this in the full video, but anyway, let's just get to it. This is what we're painting today. A cup, a steamy cup. You see the steam? The steamy cup of coffee. Could be tea. What's your choice of beverage? All right, let me show you how I did that one. Okay, now this is a pretty simple still life. A cup and a forest. It's morning. It's your morning cup of coffee, your morning tea, your morning cup of hot beverage. So the only reason I'm using a pencil to sketch it first is for the composition. I just want to make sure that I get the composition I want. I want, obviously, the cup to be the star of the show. So let's just get the top of the cup so we can slightly see inside the top of the cup, or the mug. Call it a mug. When you go to the doctor, they ask you, do you drink coffee? That's one of the questions, right? And the answer is yes, for me. And then the next question is, how many cups do you drink a day? Well, I'm going to show you. I drink this cup. Can you see it? But that's not one cup. I betcha. This is 3 cups. If you got actual measuring cups. So when they say, how many cups do you drink? Well, I drink 1 cup. This is the cup. But I think that 1 cup is equal to 3 cups. And I sometimes think that when I give that explanation to the person asking me the question, they're confused. So they will ask it again. They will say, well, but how many cups do you drink? And I said, well, I drink 1 of my cups. But my cup is not 1 cup. It's more than 1 cup. Well, how many cups is it? I said, I don't know. I never measured it. It's a funny exchange. It sounds like something from a sitcom, right? So anyway, but this is going to be 1. How about we use the word mug? That's what I should tell at the doctor's office next time. How many mugs do I drink? How many cups in a mug? Well, it depends on the size of the mug. Funny. It's funny. It's all funny. Anyway, good morning, everybody. This is my cup I'm drawing here. This is I decided to do this today because I wanted to do a still life, and I guess this is as close to still life as I could come up with. So actually, the whole art of ceramics is an art I've never really done. I did ceramics in high school, probably make it an ashtray or something. trying to think if I've ever done any others. I don't think I've ever done any others. And so I'm sorry, I was distracting myself. There are people out there, some people who I know pretty well, who are so good at ceramics. It's just really incredible. And they will post the photos of the ceramic work they've done, and it's incredible to me. So if that's your art form, it's truly an art form. Well, there's my cup. How about that, huh? Was that a pretty simple one, or what? And then I think what I want to do in the background is I want to kind of make. Well, first of all, let's have a place for this cup to be sitting. Maybe you're at a picnic table outside in the woods or something. That's what I want. I want it to be outdoors. I want it to be a hot beverage on a cool day, so we get that steam coming up. Because I think that's going to be fun too. And then the background, let's see. See if I got this right. See, this should be dark, I think. And the background should be like this. A little bit of a hill there, I think. And you're kind of, maybe you're sitting in a cabin in the woods someplace. And maybe way in the background, maybe you're in the Smoky Mountains. Yeah, I'm doing a Bob Ross on you now. I'm making up a story. I'm making up a picture. So, but obviously I don't want this to be in the desert. I want this to be in the woods, so there'll be trees in front of all this. But I kind of wanted to have that, and I need to have it dark a little bit so that this smoke can come, this steam can be coming up from there. And the mug itself should be lit. I think the mug itself should have some, obviously, reflections, so the side should be lit. This side should have some. I just want to leave some spaces for some white. That's one of the keys of the watercolor, is to make sure you leave spaces for the white. Yeah, so okay. Alright, well, let's just jump into this cup here, and then there'll be a shadow here, of course. Alright, so let's just jump into that. Let's see if this brush will work. I haven't used this one in a while. Oh, that's why I haven't used it. Look, it falls apart. Is this the brush that falls apart? Do I have two brushes that fall apart? Oh yeah. So what I'll do to fix that, I get this raffle ticket that I purchased somewhere to try to win something. I'll take a little piece of that. I'll stick it in there. That'll hold it in place. Yeah, I can't be the only one that's had this problem with a brush coming off of the handle. See? Push it in there. Yeah, now it's not coming off, see? However, that'll mess up when I put it in water, but it'll be good for now. Or I could just use another brush. I do have plenty of brushes. All right, so what I want to do with the cup is I kind of want to be a little bit creative with the cup. So let's just give it some water first. That way we can give it that watercolor look. Okay. Try to keep little spaces there for that white. And so hopefully you guys are doing good. Thank you for the things you've been writing me, telling me. Thank you for sharing your own art with me. I keep telling myself I'm going to make a Poppa Paints Facebook page. You know what? Maybe I'll do that today. That way we can communicate differently. That's an idea. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Somebody remind me, would you? Hope I don't forget. Okay, I'm just trying to get this wet here. Try to stay away from the area I'm just trying to save for the white. Alright, what color should we make our cup? Well, my cup that I'm using right now is black, but I don't want black. I think I want something dark, though. How about like a dark... Well, there's some green. I'll just start with that. I can always come back to it. If you're outdoors, maybe you want a green cup. Or maybe I'm going to be clever and put like a floral scene on here. It's a cup with a floral scene. It's an idea. Alright, I think I'll do that. I'll make it darker at the bottom. Who knows? I'm just making it up as I go along. Just making it up. Just making a pretty cup. Making a pretty cup. Let's see, what is this color? So I don't always know what the colors are in the pan colors because it's hard to tell unless you actually use them on paper. And another thing, I've mentioned this before, that like when I'm doing what am I trying to say here? Acrylic paint, or even digital paintings, I will often use a background or an underpainting color that is complementary. It's not always the exact color of what the end picture is going to be, and usually it comes out pretty nice. James Gurney, I've watched him a lot. If you've never heard of him, if you've never heard me mention him, he's a great artist, a great illustrator, and he has a video channel, YouTube channel that is outstanding, and you can learn a lot from James Gurney. So the reason I brought his name up just now is because he does a lot of paintings with gouache on his video channel, and he uses casein as an underpainting, and it works really well. I've used, as an underpainting on acrylics, I've used gesso that was colored, so colored gesso I would use. Alright, making this cup come alive, making this cup look like a cup. I'm not really sure what I'm doing here. I guess you can tell. I'm almost like making it a tie-dye cup. Now that's another art form, tie-dye, and textiles in general, or fashion design. That's another art. I've watched some artists on YouTube who were fashion people, and they will design clothing, dresses, mostly for women, and it's not something I would ever be good at. Oh no. No. You ever have somebody say to you, "Well, you're good at everything"? You say, "No, I am not good at everything." And not only am I not good at everything, I'm not good at most things. I can't even, like with basketball, for example. I'm horrible. It never gets in the basket. I'm not the guy you want on your basketball team. Kind of funny, isn't it? Try to make this a little bit brown on the bottom instead of so dark. Alright, so yeah, we're trying to make a cup here that has some depth to it, some darkness to it. It almost looks like it has an art piece on the cup itself. That's a cool idea, huh? I put the blue and the green in the wrong spot, but that's okay. That's okay. We're being artistic today. There we go. Get some more blue up here. And what I'll do is I'll let this dry, and then I'll come back to it, add another layer. It's interesting when I look back sometimes at these videos, and I watch the video, or I scroll through it. I wonder how many of you actually watch the whole thing. These are long videos. I think if it was me, if I were you, I wouldn't watch the whole thing. Sometimes I would. But a lot of times I would just go to the parts that, oh, how did the artist do that? It wasn't just me. I mean, if I'm looking at James Gurney as a good example. How did he do that? How did he do this, you know? So, yeah, I think we all learn from each other. I think that's what happens in this lifetime. If we came here to learn, then we're teaching each other. For the expressions represented here conflict with one another, and we have our own separate roles and our multiple directions. We all start at the same control, and we're all heading toward perfection. So do you see the cup coming to life a little bit? Very cool looking design right there. I'm going to leave it at that for now and come back to it. But for right now, that's our cup. A little bit of darkness over here. A little more shadow here. And speaking of shadows, let me go ahead and add a shadow here before I forget. So the light's coming through there. Sitting in the woods with our coffee. Oh my gosh, I am thinking now about camping in a cabin. Have you ever gone camping in a cabin? I don't know if some people consider that cheating or not. So I've cheated. I've camped in cabins. Oh my gosh, it's such a beautiful experience. Especially for early risers. I'm an early riser. I wake up early, and let me use the other brush. I like to get up early, and then, like when I'm camping, I make coffee when I'm camping, just like I'm painting now. But I don't always make it like from a pot. I cheat. I bring the instant coffee with me. You know those little sleeves? You ever get those little sleeves of coffee? And you just empty a sleeve into a pot. I'm not into a pot, but into a cup or a mug. Going back to my other conversation. You empty it into a mug, and then you pour the hot water in it. And it's instant. And it's, well, you know, coffee's pretty much instant anyway. I mean, all you gotta do is let it drip. It doesn't take that long. Like tea. Like people say instant tea. Well, tea is always instant, right? Isn't tea instant? I think it is. So I sit there on the porch of the cabin where I'm camping, and just look. I have a real quick story to tell you. I was camping when my son was a lot younger, and we went out west. I live in Florida, for those who don't know, so everything is out west or up north. So we went out to Texas. We passed Texas. We went to the Grand Canyon, but I was trying to think where I was at this time. I was out west. Maybe it was New Mexico. I don't know where it was, but we stopped at the campground in the dark. It had already the sun had already set, and I honestly didn't know where I was. I mean, I suppose I knew where I was at the time. I'm sure I was familiar with the map and everything. But anyway, we just stopped, and you couldn't see the horizon, you couldn't see anything. But we set up our tent, we went to sleep. Yeah, this was a tent night that I'm referring to now. But anyway, same idea. And that morning I got up and I made myself a cup of coffee. And I'll be honest with you, I had a cigar too. I haven't had a cigar in a long time, but I don't say I quit. I just say I've stopped for a while. maybe I have quit, who knows. But anyway, so I would have a cup of coffee, and that morning, when the sun came up, there was a plateau on the horizon, and the sun was rising behind the plateau. And it was such a beautiful thing to see. I had never seen a plateau before, except for like in books and in movies. And there it was. I don't know what it was called. I don't really know where I was. I want to say I was in western Texas somewhere, but I honestly don't remember. But I remember seeing the plateau and being in awe. I've grown up on the East Coast. I grew up in New York and in Florida. Those are my two main places. And when I say New York, I mostly mean the western part of Long Island, not too far from New York City, but it's a suburb. And there's a beach on Long Island called Jones Beach. If you're from Long Island, you know Jones Beach. Everybody knows Jones Beach up there. And what I'm trying to get at here is, and I lived a little while in Santa Monica, California. So again, another beach. So I lived here in Florida, always at the beach. Out in California, always the beach. Up on Long Island, there's a beach like 8 miles from my house. And so there's always a beach. I've always been able to see the ocean. It was never something unusual or something remarkable. I mean, it is remarkable, but what I'm trying to say is that I was used to it. I was not used to mountains. I was not used to plateaus. I was very used to big old skylines from cities. And so the reason I'm mentioning that is because when I've been with somebody who came to New York for the very first time and had never seen the New York skyline or any big skyline, they're in awe. And the same thing is with the ocean. I was with a guy in California, in Santa Monica, and he was from Indiana. And he said that when he saw that ocean, he couldn't believe it. It was so big. And I was amazed. But then again, that's exactly how I am when I go to the mountains. Because all the three places I mentioned, well, Long Island, not New York State, because New York State has mountains. Florida doesn't have any mountains, and Long Island doesn't have any mountains. And Santa Monica does have mountains, but I wasn't in them. I was near them, so I could see them. So that's the exception, I guess, to my rule. But mostly in my life, I haven't been around mountains. But my point is, when I'm someplace like that, it's like always incredible to me. Anyway, I don't know what I'm getting at here. I'm just rambling. Yeah. Make it a little bit darker up here, inside the cup itself. You thought I was done with the cup, didn't you? I did too. Just a little bit there. So we want to make this. We want to make steam coming up from there. All right, now let's do the background. I think I'll take this brush here. It's a nice soft brush. I'm just going to get the sky wet. And the back of the card wet. Yeah, right now it's looking like an illustration more than a painting. It may end up looking like an illustration. We'll find out together. It's hard for me to explain the difference. But it really needs no explanation. It's just something I say. Looks more like an illustration, looks more like a work of art. I think most of my stuff looks like illustration. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, was Norman Rockwell an artist or an illustrator? There's an example. Was Andy Warhol an artist or an illustrator? There's another example. I don't have a definite answer, by the way. Do you like their work? I can answer that question, yes. Yes. Was Picasso an artist or an illustrator? Obviously he was an artist, but he also was an illustrator too. Same with Salvador Dali. He's definitely an artist. I guess the distinction is if you come up with something that has not been done before, or has been done before but done differently. They say nothing is new, so everything we do, I guess, has been done before. But anyway, there's something unique about artists. I think we had this discussion once about musical artists. Well, there's nothing wrong with being a great singer. There's nothing wrong with being a great illustrator. And the word artist is hard to explain anyway. But here we go. There's our blue sky that we're going to keep very, very light. And now we're going to have a very, I think how to do this now. Got to paint around it. Let me do this area first, I think. Let me make this. Let me get this kind of brownish orange. Good morning. That's what that's called. Good morning. All right, I guess I'm done. See you later.